Story 1. Yes, it taught me that some people are only meant to be in your life for a season, not forever. Story 2. Never entertain one-sided relationships. In high school, I did whatever the other person wanted. When it was my turn to ask for something, the answer was always no, or I will do it if you pay me. Story 3. Beware of someone who has many broken friendships. Most friendships that are not meant to last fizzle out naturally over time. If those friendships all end abruptly and dramatically, consider it a red flag. Story 4. Yes, and it hurt. Over time, I realized I was being used. Sometimes I think of things they would like and want to share them. It felt like a death while they were still alive. Story 5. I was part of a circle of close school friends for about 10 years. We were best friends who grew up together in high school and college. I had a long-term relationship with one of them that ended in a breakup. Everyone sided with my ex and no one bothered to hear my side of the story. Was disappointed that nobody asked if I was all right or what my side of the story was, considering we were all close. Felt as if I had been deleted from their lives. I have been thinking that I cannot call them my best friends if they did not even bother to reach out, so I guess good riddance. Story 6. I texted her about how I honestly felt about our friendship. A week later I followed up, saying I wanted to work things out and that she could let me know if she needed more space or was not in the mood to talk. She did not respond. It has been 3 weeks. I am disappointed. I thought she was someone I could communicate with, and this is how she handled it. Story 7. Our close relationships are mirrors for us without the romantic context that can complicate things. We are not solitary and unchanging. We interact with the world around us and change, and so do they. It is sad to grieve friendships. I see friendships as companions and support to enjoy life and help us get through it. So when a decision is made to end a friendship, a void remains and something that was once organic and beneficial comes to an end. I try to talk to other friends, reflect on the good and the bad, and keep living. I learned that life can hurt, but it will hurt a lot more if we do not learn to make decisions that avoid deeper long-term harm, to build resilience, and to form real relationships that can help us through difficult times. Recovering from rejection is a major lesson in self-reflection and self-love. Some friendships are simply unhealthy. You become free from the people who drained you, and you begin to feel better. Story 8. Recently, I experienced not a breakup of friendship, but a decisive shift in one that hurt because I thought we were best friends. Now we are, at best, acquaintances with daily virtual contact. The illusion of depth and mutual support fell apart. I had been making plans with a close friend for months, and I thought we were both equally excited about it. When she eventually backed out, giving insincere excuses that seemed meant to punish me for not living up to her standard, it was not just that the trip fell through. It was how sudden and final her message felt. Looking back, I realized this was not the first time things had gone her way without much room for discussion. Many of our plans over the years had ended up on her terms, and I was usually the one adjusting. At the time, I did not notice how much I was compromising, but this situation made it clear. What stung most was not losing the trip itself, but realizing the friendship was not as mutual as I had thought. I felt like all the energy and excitement I put in could be dismissed in a moment, especially when she point-blank told me she would never compromise her comfort and assumed she would be uncomfortable without asking about the issues. I pushed for a discussion because I decided I cannot tolerate being dismissed and hurt like that. In the end, I was left with the sense that our bond had been much more one-sided than I wanted to admit, because every excuse she gave could have been resolved if we had talked it through. I will not be able to trust her again because I know she can pull a stunt like that. I am in a vulnerable place right now, so I cried for 3 days as if it were a romantic breakup. And it still stings. Story 9. I often use the term archive for friendships that have run their course but may renew. Some close friends of ours stopped responding, and it really saddens me. I'd like to think that someday the relationship might be restored, but otherwise it is. In the archives, I have also severed friendships due to political differences. One person accused me of not being a real American despite my 25 years of service in the United States Navy. There was no archiving of that relationship. It was full-on severance. Story 10. It happened to me 20 years ago. It took me 5 years to get over it, And during that time, I learned many things about him that he had hidden from me while I told him everything. Ultimately, I did not know him, he was a stranger. Story 11. Most friendships faded because of life. I have only once ended a friendship by telling the person I did not want to remain in contact. I had been nothing but supportive during our friendship, but she began gossiping and spreading rumors that I was dating a coworker, which I was not. That could have gotten me in trouble at work because I was in a management position, not his direct manager but still in a supervisory role while he was not. Story 12. My best friend from work stopped responding to my texts one day. No warning, no argument, nothing. Mid-conversation, totally mundane, she just stopped replying. I texted her a couple of times in the days or weeks afterward to check in and ask if everything was okay. Eventually, I took the hint and told her I was wishing her well. Months later, she messaged to say some people on our old team had been laid off and I could say goodbye. She also said things were complicated, which was why she had not texted back, and that she would tell me what was going on. I suggested we grab lunch and talk about it. She said she was interested and would let me know when she was free, but she never did. It has been months and I think I am done. I have spent hours rereading our last conversations, trying to figure out what I did or said to make her stop responding, but I have not been able to figure it out. We used to talk about everything, to the point where I would expect that if I had upset her she would communicate that to me. This has messed with my head. Not only do I not know what I said to make her upset, but I worry I might say something that drives other friends away too. At the same time, I have decided I do not want to be around people who are so averse to communication that they would rather end a friendship than talk about it. It feels immature, and whether or not I was in the wrong, I think I am better off. Story 13. I ended a friendship when he revealed a Nazi opinion. I felt great because I had never been in that situation before, and I now know I do not tolerate Nazis rather than merely thinking I would. Story 14. A friendship ended in a really nasty way at the beginning of the year. If a friend asks whether the person they are dating can stay with you and is cagey about how they know that person or how long they have been together, say no. Those were the worst 3 months of my life. Story 15. We have outgrown each other. Being there when none of her friends are around is draining. Story 16. I broke up with one of my friends a few months ago, mainly because of differences in our life choices and ideas about the future. Marijuana was also a major factor because he became very reliant on it, and it is not a necessity for me. There were many occasions when his actions, or the things he encouraged me to do, dragged our relationship down. I wrote him a breakup letter and cried a little afterward because I would miss his family most. They were so kind. Many memories still surface when I ride my bike, past certain places, or simply when I think about the times we shared. They remind me that the future holds many opportunities one still need to find and experience. I am glad it happened because I have been able to pursue my interests again and I have much more freedom. If a relationship does not feel natural or genuine, you probably should not be in it or something needs to change. My life would have been completely different if I had not met him, but the experience made me who I am now and I am grateful for that. Story 17. We were 3 and then we weren't. It was 2 at first, then another 3 without me, so I had to leave, pick up my dignity, and run. I did, but I was certain I had a very deep love for those 2. I wonder if I will ever be like that in a friendship again. Story 18. Still hurting 3+ years. My post history explains most. Long story short, we got close over more than 10 years. Late night messages, walks, lingerie, secrets, and so on. We crossed boundaries, and I said, I'm so glad we're friends. I was cut off so hard and so fast it hurt. I tried reaching out, but there was no response. It's broken me, and it is getting easier. But losing my best mate is something I never thought would happen. Story 19. Yes, I was part of a friend group since I started secondary school, and we were all friends because we were not really friends with anyone else. Over time, the friendship with a few of them became stale and we grew distant. They would give each other gifts in front of me and make plans to go out without involving me. So I told them I was leaving the friend group. They did not seem to care, which was better since I did not want to start drama. Initially I was sad, but now I have found friends who truly value me. Story 20. I went through a horrible breakup with a friend. We had been roommates for years, And until I met my husband, she was the closest I had ever been with someone. She was extremely toxic and controlling, and I eventually recognized it and ended the relationship. It was a nightmare. One of the hardest things about the breakup was that no one around me recognized it as a breakup. I did not get the sympathy I would have received if I had left a boyfriend, and I felt like I was not supposed to wallow, eat ice cream, or listen to sad music. So it took much longer to heal than it otherwise would have. Story 21. I broke up with a friend. It was not really his fault, but interacting with him drained all my energy. Our friendship was past its prime and we had grown apart. I had hoped it would fizzle out on its own, but every so often he would remember me and want to meet. Then I realized I really did not want to meet anymore and decided to tell him the truth. He did not deserve me meeting him when I would rather be somewhere else. He took it hard, but it was for the best. Story 22. He was not a close friend, more of an acquaintance. Some of my friends still hang out with him, which puts a heavy strain on my friendships, and I am considering ending those ties. He was always a bit of a libertarian, but when he told me to my face that pushing Nazis makes one a bad person, that was the last straw. For context, I was in a legal battle with a Nazi after a brawl. It was a double whammy. First, I do not want to be associated with people who have sympathy for Nazis. Second, I do not want to be associated with people for whom being a bad person is not a deal breaker. I ultimately learned that it is best to rely on myself and not form too close bonds with people, since for many, aversion to conflict outweighs moral consistency. Story 23. Yes. 2 instances. One definitely hurt more than the other because there was no closure. They abruptly cut off all contact with me and our group. The other said their priorities were different, which I respected. I am learning to move on and to realize that some people are only there for a moment, not forever. When the pain of loss returns, I remind myself I grieve because I cared. Story 24. A roommate in college told me our friendship wasn't worth it. We were best friends, but she spent the rest of the semester pretending I didn't exist. It was a huge blow to my self-esteem. It's been almost 15 years, and I still have a hard time forming friendships because I worry people will drop me once they get to know me better. Story 25. Walking away is easy. Being alone is less so. But this way, no one can stab you in the back while pretending to be on your side. Story 26. One of the worst losses is when best friends become partners and that relationship ends. Losing a partner who is also your best friend forever is a major loss in your life. Story 27. Everything changed between a friend of mine and me after he got married and had children. Their first daughter was encouraged to call me Uncle DRB. I was the best man at their wedding. I stayed up all night with him in the hospital after he fell off a mountain and broke both his arms. His wife called me at home at 10 in the evening and asked me to help. In our 20s, I took him in when he was about to be homeless and let him live with me for a year and a half. When they became pregnant with their second child, they grew extremely flaky. They were 2 of 3 people who learned about my cancer diagnosis. When I needed surgery and was having trouble, I asked him to help get some groceries because I was unable to walk. He refused. He also complained about choices I was making in my life. I told him I had been in a car accident and needed a new car. I bought myself a very nice Bayerisch Motorenwerke car. He lost it on me, telling me I was being financially irresponsible and that I should just buy a Corolla. Mind you, this is a man who used to go to Burning Man and now lives in a cookie-cutter subdivision with a 2-car garage and who buys used Corollas. I pointed out that I could afford it, that I had worked hard for it, and that it was my choice. I did not hear from him for a few months until he wanted me to make a 5-hour solo round trip to take him to look at a truck he wanted to buy. He framed it as asking if I had taken that Bayerisch Motorenwerke out yet. Declined because I did not want to drive 5 hours on a Saturday alone. I heard from him a month later when he wanted me to drive him to California, a 13-hour round trip. Again, he wanted to buy a truck. I suggested just flying Southwest to get it and driving it back. We were going to do it together, but he backed out. I told him that he and his wife had been rude to me. They had blown me off several times over the last year and seemed to only call when they needed someone to participate in an event for their daughter, like a birthday party, or when they needed a ride. He absolutely lost it on me. He told me that my complaining was a turnoff and that I must be off my medication. Then he told me to leave his family alone. It was completely out of the blue. To this day, I have no idea what I did to offend him so much. But I recall plenty of times when he said rude or mean things to me. It changed my view of friendship and reinforced my belief that men can be truly alone. It also reinforced how aging can turn people into different versions of themselves. Story 28. I have had two people I considered my best friend at the time end their friendships with me. One drifted toward other members of our friend group when I started to bore them. The other began bullying me and essentially disowned me when I asked him to stop. I think both made me a better person. The first taught me not to be a boring yes man, and the second allowed me to develop my own religious beliefs because my friendship no longer depended on them staying the same. Make no mistake, both breakups felt horrible at the time. The second was worse than any romantic breakup I have had, because I think men often define themselves by their friendships, and I discovered that many things I had shared with my friend had no one else to talk to about. Story 29. I spent our entire 20s as best friends, only to be emotionally ghosted the moment she found a boyfriend who met her emotional needs. It made me feel like a placeholder. I did not chase her anymore. I felt too old for that, but I made a few attempts hoping she would pick up where we left off. I hoped it was a honeymoon phase and that she could have both a fulfilling relationship and our friendship, but that hope was in vain. This was 3 years ago, and I still feel somewhat scorned. Even with my own great boyfriend, I miss my best friendship with her. Story 30. I met a friend at one of those superstores that sell both food and furniture. She had some food with her, and when it was time to leave, she ate half of it, shoved the trash into the couch cushions, and walked out with the rest. I asked her what the shoplifting was about, and she told me something about how she hates capitalism. I told her that was a lame justification. She walked away angry. Later that day, I found that she had blocked me on all social media. It was not the first time she had stopped speaking to me, so I couldn't bring myself to try to salvage anything. A different friend, who was also a coworker, was fired. I came in after my day off and learned it had happened. I texted her, and she only confirmed it was true. I later learned more details, like how she had been falsifying her timesheet, doing nothing for hours every day and dodging work. Considering I had been telling her that work had been draining me for the last month, this pissed me off, but I didn't immediately say anything to her about it. Then she just never spoke to me again. Story 31. I was hurt by a very close friend from middle school. When we went to different high schools 5 years ago, she started to ghost me. 2 years ago, she texted me, "Sorry for not answering you very often anymore, but I think we have gone our separate ways. I wish you all the best and success with your projects. I am still struggling, but making new friends and spending time with people who care about me has made it a bit easier. Watching anime like One Piece also helped me believe in friendship again. The end of this friendship taught me not to give up opportunities for my studies because of someone who is not worth it and to open up to other people." Story 32. During high school, I broke up with a close friend after she told all my other friends that my dog had died. She worked at the veterinary office and I did not even know she knew. I had called them to close the account and to let them know because they had previously helped him through a serious surgery and had cared for him deeply. I do not think she worked there at the time. I wanted to mourn by myself and she did not care enough to call me and talk to me. Instead, she told everyone else and I received calls from them. In hindsight, years later, we were all high school students and this was a small thing. Grief is a complicated emotion and there was no reason for her to read my mind and know that I wanted to be left alone for a while. But I resented her for valuing gossip over actually caring about me. It felt like she had more excitement about having some big drama to talk about than compassion for my situation. It revealed to me how I had been annoyed by her need for drama but tolerated it. So I stopped tolerating it. Story 33. I broke up with a friend recently. I made the decision to distance myself after a few bitter experiences. I still talk to them on a surface-friendly level, but it is nothing like how we were before. The experience taught me to balance relationships. Being all in and willing to take a bullet for someone does not mean they would do the same. If you are more affected by the breakup than they are, it simply means you valued the relationship more. Life is a long train journey, People get off when their stop comes, but our journey does not end with them. Story 34. It's cliché, but I have learned that you should believe people when they show you who they are. This is not just about distancing yourself from terrible people. It is important to be clear-eyed about what a friend can and will give to the friendship, and not to expect them to do otherwise. From there, you can decide whether the friendship is healthy or viable. I have had friends who are kind of flighty or chronically busy, but the friendship works if I am okay with only seeing them occasionally. I had a friend who was prone to conflict and had a confrontational, aggressive style. Our friendship was fine as long as we avoided conflict, but once conflict occurred it was over, because I could not handle that style and she was not willing to soften her approach. You cannot change people or expect them to change for you, but you can decide what you will and will not accept. Story 35. She basically ignored me until I went away. That took a humiliatingly long time, since she was never the first to get in touch or to plan anything. I dismissed it as her being very popular with many better offers. Why would she choose me, someone she had known since we were kids? I accepted being a lower-tier friend. We even lived together for a while, and that is when I noticed there was one rule for me and another for her. It was not an equal relationship. I was always begging for scraps. She talked a lot and always wanted to discuss what was going on with me, which I mistook for caring, but really she used gossip as a distraction from her own problems. Story 36. Just recently. To tell the truth, a whole group of us broke up with her. Does that still count? On the one hand, we put it off way too long. There never seemed to be a good opportunity to make this kind of thing official. On the other hand, it gave me plenty of time to feel all the emotions about it. Now that it is over, I do not feel much of anything, at least for now. It is unfortunate to have to do something like that, but when being friends with someone is a hazard to your mental health and they will not listen or accept responsibility, it is better to end it. Story 37. I often use the word archive for friendships that have run their course but might be renewed. Some close friends stopped communicating, which saddens me. I hope it may be restored someday. Otherwise, it is archived. I have also severed friendships because of political differences. One person accused me of not being a real American despite my 25 years of service in the United States Navy. There was no archiving of that relationship. It was a full severance. Story 38. Yes, it sucks. You learn valuable lessons, but you may miss some of them. Story 39. Oh my goodness. I have lost so many friends in my life, both in person and online. I am now of the opinion that some people are meant to be in your life while others are not. They may be there to change you or to serve a certain purpose, but not for a lifetime. Also, be careful whom you call your friends. Not everyone has the best intentions. Some are just using you to feed their own egos. Know your worth, learn to tell fake friends from real ones, and cut the fake ones off. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.